After the break, we'll take a look at...
Pardon the interruption for a very important news update.
This is no holds barred. We go hard, we go harder. In the ring, on the mic, every shot is your holds barred. Feel the charge, feel the armor. Bobby Josh in your brain, turn it up, go farther, farther, farther. Theme hits loud, then the grips come off. Call out the card, call every payoff. Botches, legends, titles, and heat. Pay-per-view nights, run it back, repeat. They slam, we analyze. Move for move, every feud, every bruise, every pivot move. This is no holds barred. We go hard, we go harder. In the ring, on the mic, every shot is your holds barred. Feel the charge, feel the armor. Bobby Josh in your brain, turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther. No script, just true. Every jab breaks through. From the bell to the bro. Name the show. We want it all. 1, 2, 3. This is no holds barred. We go hard, we go harder. In the ring, on the mic, every shot is no holds barred. Feel the charge, feel the armor. Bobby Josh in your brain, turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther. Turn it up, go farther.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Tuesday night edition of the No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast. I'm Bobby Melendez, joined by my tag team partner, Josh Kimmel, and we are sidetracking our way from the WrestleMania series review. I mean, we got distracted with WrestleMania. We got distracted with life. We got distracted with the draft. Right back in it. And we get distracted at least two more times with the Hulk Hogan Real American series review. Right now, today, we're reviewing episodes 1 and 2. There are 4 total parts, and we'll get the next 2 parts this coming Saturday. But love that I'll be able, I got to see the last 2 episodes, or the first 2 episodes last night, Josh. Get to talk about those with you. DSG in the comments, Adrian of the Rainy Day Podcast there as well. Appreciate everybody jumping in wherever you jump in from. But man, oh man, I'm just excited that we got to watch this and or the process of watching this and get to talk this with you. First off, before we do, how are you?
Let me tell you something, Bobby Melendez. You got me watching this Hulkamania episodes 1 and 2, brother. Coming from Tampa, Florida, I noticed a lot of area over there. I enjoyed that part of the episode more than I can't do the whole episode, but I enjoyed. Let me tell you something, brother. I am surprisingly enjoying this terrible human being's life right now. Like what I mean by that is, like, it's good. It's well shot. The interviews they got, Jimmy Hart. You asked me how I'm doing. I'm sorry. I'm just going right into it. I'm doing great. I've had a migraine for the past 2 weeks. I think I had brain cancer. Dude, I don't know what's going on. We talk about our migraines offline, and it's been 2 weeks straight. So I might go see a doctor soon. But man, let me tell you something. When I did watch this show, my headache kind of went away, and I just got engulfed in the whole, this is wrestling. And I got into some fights with my friends recently because I'm not a big music guy at all. Like, music is fine, it's there. But like, this whole Michael movie's coming out, and my wife's super obsessed with it. She's ordering a freaking jacket and dressing up to watch this movie, and I'm not going. It's her and her friends and our daughters, and I'm watching this, and she actually watched episode 2 with me yesterday. And then we got this conversation of like, Hogan's a bigger icon than Michael, and I'm seeing it. And we got into this argument, and everyone that I've talked to all said I'm an idiot, but I think they scoff at wrestling and they make fun of wrestling. But if you think about it, without Hogan, and I know this has been said and documented on every show that ever existed, without Hogan, wrestling isn't the way of the roller derby. It's gone. Music was there before Michael and after, and it will thrive without him ever existing. That's a different conversation for a different day. But you just realize watching this show, transitioning back to the show, Hogan was such a big deal, man. And like, if you just don't know, you just don't know. but he was a massive deal. And this did a good job of portraying that. So I'll say that.
I love that you said that. We're going to get into episode 1 and 2, but just overlay of what you were talking about. Not, you not a Hulk Hogan fan, me growing up a Hulk Hogan fan, all that. So it's two different eyes, two different pairs of eyes watching this. So to hear you say that's really cool, because I obviously know how big Hogan was, and I will always say Hogan is the greatest of all time for what he did for the business. But this kind of really, at least the first 2 episodes for sure, really hit the nail on the head. The first thing I thought of as the episode 1 started, you start with the funeral, which was like, tough to see, and but you start with the funeral, but then you just see him, and this is his last interview, and you see him get up. He has the stick and slow moving. He still has the bandana, and the first thing I thought of was rock star. It just kept hitting me. Rock star. Like, he is the last. Well, again, you got Ric Flair, you got Jake the Snake, you got
Jimmy Hart,
and you got I'm thinking of Jesse the Body. Like, those guys are still around, but like Hogan is really a symbolic of the end of that era. Like, wrestling now, it's like they're the characters on screen, and then once they're home, they're no longer those characters. Once their careers are over, Undertaker now, even though he was that great character and wrestling was characters, but Undertaker's now Mark Calloway. He's not, he doesn't wear the same stuff. Hogan was always that character, and he was the last of that living generation. Like, it's the same thing. Like, if you look at Gene Simmons right now, Simmons, when he goes on stage, he puts on the makeup, he wears the thing, he dresses up, Alice Cooper, Ozzy Osbourne. That's what Hogan was. That's what that generation was. And that's why Hogan still carried that persona. He was always, even though he was Terry Bollea, he was still to the fans. And even when he was walking around, Hulk Hogan, so when I watched him and I see like how deteriorated his body was, like slowly and everything, it's like, that's what he put his body through. I mean, and he still carried. So it's like, he was the last of that generation of rock star, and of course you see what him and Linda did during the high times, they were, cocaine and all. It was like, they were living that rock star life, so just that era of wrestling is truly now gone, and he was the last. And the more and more I think about, we all joke, it's true though, the stories he tells, you don't know what's fact and fiction.
Yes.
Was Andre 700 pounds or 600 pounds? Did he not really know Andre was going to do business? A part of it, you could be like, okay, that's pure BS. Or is that him trying to keep kayfabe alive? And, that's just him like trying to keep that one part of it. What's BS and what's just living up, because, he comes from that era. So that was really cool to see. And it really like kind of like a flash of a hint to me, because, I don't really need to see this to know that what his impact was, but it still was very cool to see. For episode 1, what I really did enjoy first off was the home videos.
Yes.
Like early on, shout out to Linda Hogan. And I'll say that, like, when Hogan died, we know how ugly that divorce was. That was, you don't have to be a Hogan fan to know that was an ugly divorce, and it was all over the news and whatever. But when Hogan died and Linda came out with that tweet or a social media post, like, oh, he's the love of my life, blah, 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 blah. And you're kind of like, yeah, all right, she's just trying to jump on the bandwagon and whatever, but then you watch this. And then you find out that they were on speaking terms, and he wanted her involved to get her side of the story. And you hear her talking, and she's kind of like revisiting the past and how they started. I was telling my wife last night, who's not a Hogan fan, and but I was like, I get it now. I understand what happened there. I'll tell you, at least these first 2 parts, especially with the home videos, Linda Hogan might be the MVP of these first 2 episodes, because she documented the early Terry Bollea of, like, and it's watching him train when he was like, he was still big, he was still huge. But I mean, you watch his training videos when he's doing these actual wrestling moves, and he looks, there's no definition. He's still in shape, but that was really cool to see. What did you think about that?
Yeah, the home videos were the biggest takeaway of this whole first 2 episodes. Just we all know the story of him getting his leg broken, or the territories, or wanting to work in Minnesota, or Rocky 3. Senior says, if you go film that movie, don't ever come back, you're fired. Like, we know these stories. That was not exciting to me. It was the home videos. It was seeing him on a boat or him in his house with his kids. I think this is episode 2 when Brooke was born. I know we're in episode 1, but when episode 2 when Brooke was born, and you see all these pictures of him with his Brooke and having all this fun and him just being a dad. And you finally, maybe I'm disconnected, but you hear like Natty or whoever, just any celebrity's kid go, yeah, that's his dad. Like you see that with them. Like Brooke when she was crying because dad had to go to work.
Yeah, that was tough.
Dad,
that was tough.
You know, like you don't really get it until you see it. I'll tell you this though, and maybe this is my Hogan hate, and this will be real. Like if you're just tuning in for the first time, Finns Talk Sports Network, No Holds Barred. Let me tell you, I'm not a Hogan fan. I thought Linda was so unlikable in these episodes, man. I just see like she just wanted money. And that's just what I see, dude. And I'm sorry. I don't know the person. I don't know her. I don't know the situation.
I don't know her either. I got a different
view. She just came off. Yeah, she just came off of like, oh, I saw him in the bar. And then we fucked. Sorry. But like, oh, he came out naked and we just had sex. Like, so you're not.
But she said, have you ever a giant?
Yeah, so like that right there,
damn,
that moment right there turned me off of her instantly. Like she's just to me.
Well,
that's the way she came off.
I feel you there. I get what you're saying. What I would say, the reason why it came out to me or like stuck out to me was because when they were going to that ugly thing, I mean, she was, he was, of course, doing his thing, and she was throwing him under the bus and speaking all the crazy shit and doing all this crazy stuff. So to see her or hear her talk good things about him, that's what got me. Now, Linda comes from money. That's what he said. And Linda was beautiful back. You look at the picture. She was stunning. She was a beautiful blonde. Now she is crazy, right? I mean, all types of things that happened recently and everything else. But to me, that was the turnaround. Again, but I did appreciate those stories to see, like, and to realize, like, how they met. And Hogan, even though he wasn't at the top at that time, he was getting to that point. And I can't wait to talk about Minnesota and how, this whole illusion that, it was Vince McMahon that, with Hulkamania skyrocketed, but Hulkamania started with Hogan in Minnesota with Vern Gagne and them. So that was really cool. Even though I kind of knew about that, that was cool to kind of see and get that part of the story. But what I liked about the Linda portion of it, and even going into episode 2, was to see the family side, to see how they started with nothing, how they got into something, and how she was involved in everything. She was, on the plane rides with the kids. And then when the kids were born, that's when she stayed home. So that was an interesting part to see. One thing I really like too as well, and I want to get into different things, but I just want to throw out what we like and what we dislike, was that Jesse the Body Ventura was involved. That was great because even Bret Hart, we know Bret's going to say something. I just know what's coming. I just know Bret Hart. It's coming, right? He's going to say something.
I sent you my favorite quote. I sent you my favorite quote of the entire documentary so far.
Did you really? Did I? No, I don't think I saw it.
It was from Bret. It was literally from Bret. It's episode 1 where they wrestled or something like that. He's like, I knew more. Back then, I knew more about wrestling than Hulk Hogan knew his whole freaking career.
Yeah.
That was great.
They're like Bret Hart. There he is. No, but what I love is that what I appreciate was, even though we know the disdain that Hart had for Hogan, for him, when he's talking about Hogan, how Hogan had the look. Hogan, it was amazing. He was 10 out of 10 out of promo. Like, that was cool to see and to hear. Mm-hmm. Jesse the Body Ventura, who, was really disdained for Hogan, to come out and talk about how Hogan was getting bigger and bigger at the time. And you saw how their feud was, and you see them in the ring. Was acting like a 30-minute, which change.
Dude, that's why I don't like her, man. That's why I don't like her. I just see fake. That's all I see, dude. So DSG, I get, when I heard the $3,500 a week, I'm like, must be nice.
Must be nice.
Nowadays,
right? Even now. But I like that they were involved. That's what I'll say. Very, to see them involved. And Jerry the King Lawler talking about Hogan in the early days when Hogan, again, to prove that Hogan was in a band and he would see these wrestlers coming in, and you always have to take Hogan's things with grains of salt. But then you saw, I'm forgetting the wrestler's name right now.
Oh yeah. One of the B guys, one of the tag team partners.
He came in and he was like, the first time I saw Hogan, he was this huge guy on stage in a band, and and they kind of were grooming him, and he was big in the Dusty Rhodes. Which is funny how everything comes right back to Dusty Rhodes.
Yep.
That tells you how much influence, even to this day, Dusty Rhodes has on professional wrestling. And to then, that Dusty Rhodes was before Hogan, and his influence is, at least on the wrestling world, in wrestling, bigger for younger wrestlers. They always talk about Dusty Rhodes, and Hogan says, my influence was Dusty Rhodes. And of course, superstar Billy Graham. What I like too is Jerry Lawler. When they talked about, Hogan wanted to go to they talk about Memphis wrestling, and he wanted Jerry Lawler to be his manager. And Jimmy Hart's like, well, are you gonna be his manager? Like, no, he's not good, And then it shows Jerry Lawler goes, he wasn't very good, And I was like, to me, I find it really cool that they actually done stuff like that. What did you think about all that?
Yeah, I like seeing just overall the old timers, the people that are in there. I was surprised by Jesse Ventura. By the way, Jimmy Hart's house shouldn't be that big. It just shouldn't. Like, why is he so rich still? But good for him for saving
Good
money.
for him, dude. I did not expect that either.
Yeah, I think I know where that house is, by the way. It's cool because it's all in the Tampa area. So I've noticed a lot of these things. Really weird seeing, I guess, episode 2, we'll talk about it. And I feel bad for my wife. This is not a political show at all, but she can't. Every time I go downstairs, she's talking to her mom about her disdain for the president. Just as my life. I hate it. Sure. I don't have an opinion either way, but it's ironically the episode that she decides to watch with me. Here he comes.
Oh yeah.
Here he comes.
I was watching for mine too. I was like, oh god. I'm like, okay,
it's like, yep. And then I care either way, but
yeah,
I love the part where they're like, hey, can you do the finger point? And he's like, no, I'm giving you too much like that. I wish you would have done it, Donnie. Come on, bro. Like that would have been a good clip.
Don't you want to vote? You want one vote from that Tampa house? It's like, just do the finger wave, bro.
What else did I like about the peoples? Jake the Snake. Like, I love how they all admitted at the end, like, eventually you would hope that Hogan was on the card.
Yes.
Hogan was on the card because you're making money.
Jesse the Ventura said, Jesse the Body. They all said, you either wanted to be in the match with Hogan or you wanted to be on the same card as Hogan. So it's Ben Mala's house. I don't know who Ben Mala is.
I don't know who Ben Mala is either, but good for Jimmy Hart to have a friend like Ben Mala then.
But I'll say,
who's Ben Mala? I'll find that out.
The one thing I noticed too, again, you talk about the Rocky thing where, well, first off, was that before? No. Well, before he went to WWF, whatever it was back then, with Vince McMahon Sr., seeing him wrestle in a mask, going through different gimmicks and everything. Obviously his dad wasn't into it. I thought that was really cool seeing those early pictures of Hogan in a mask, and then Minnesota wrestling as a heel, and really kind of how he, and Linda talks about that, how he was, she would get, he would get scary because he'd start doing these things in the mirror, trying to come up with a promo and everything. Really interesting to see. And then Vince McMahon Sr. saying, I want to bring you over, and he became a heel there. He was really big there. And then obviously getting noticed by Sylvester Stallone, and basically early on betting on himself, saying, you know what, I'm going to take this job. I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'll do this movie. Gets fired from WWF, does Rocky, does great, goes to Minnesota as a heel, goes against Jesse the Body Ventura, which is very cool because we just talked about how we never really got to see Ventura wrestle, but now you get to see him, and one of the greatest talkers. Still, he's an awesome voice to listen to,
always.
But this was the first time that I've seen in that era that the fans hijacked the booking. Hogan was booked as the heel. The Body was booked as the babyface. But the fans wanted to cheer Hogan, like WrestleMania 18. They wanted to cheer Hogan. And then you're watching in real time, which I love it. The way they shot it and everything. You're watching him. He's hulking up without even hulking up. He starts to go like this, and Body's working with him. And you're seeing the psychiatry of the match, the storytelling. And then, I love the shot when he comes off the rope and Hogan catches him. And then they got the picture. And you see and eventually now Hogan's the baby face, and the fans are going crazy, and he has Real American and Hulkamania is there, and you go to realize like Hogan was Hogan, or Hulkamania, even though it was in the baby phases. was before McMahon. Like that started in Minnesota. That's the fans started that. Hogan already, like you could tell with his mind about merchandising and everything, starts making these shirts. And like to me, that was like really, really neat to see and really eye-opening to be like, we all know the magnitude and the intelligence of Vince McMahon and what his impact on the business was. But the only story was that, he got Hulk Hogan from Minnesota, which we knew. Hogan was bigger there, but he got and then he made Hulkamania with Hogan, made WrestleMania off Hulkamania, and they ran wild. But it was really Hulkamania before WrestleMania, and he built that on Hogan's back. So that was really cool to see in real time in that match with Jesse the Body and Hogan. And I think you and I talked about this in one of our WrestleMania shows. I wish they would have done something in WWE with those two, because that chemistry was so good, especially, you think about it now. But what did you think of that, watching that when Hogan went to Minnesota after Rocky, and kind of how his character built up to what we know as the immortal Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, the double turn was great to see. I didn't see that. I never seen that. Never seen footage of that. Never heard of that. So it was pretty cool to see. And that's one of my arguments about the whole Michael Jackson Hulk Hogan thing is one was made from a machine, one was self-made. Oh, well, Vince did it. That's what I was told. No. As LA Knight would say, nah. He made it himself. It was Hulk Hogan. It was not. Yeah, Vince was a big part of it. Don't get me wrong. But Hogan was doing it before Vince, and that's the reason why Vince. Hey, you got to call Vince. I ain't calling him. He fired me. No. Vince Jr. wants to talk to you. Like that's when everything changed. But yeah, they were still just making. That wasn't WrestleMania. WrestleMania is what really changed everything. But we can see where it was going. So without Vince, I guess. You wouldn't have the WrestleMania. Without Hogan, you wouldn't have it. So it did need two. I'm just talking in circles now, but I want to address something in the chat. I looked up who this Ben Maller guy is, or whatever his name is. I noticed his house on Bayshore. I live very close to Bayshore. I've seen that house many, 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 many times. So I thought it was Jimmy Hart's house. Not glad to know it wasn't Jimmy Hart's house, but cool, I guess. And yes, a ton of wrestlers out here in Tampa. I just didn't know who Ben. TSG, how do you know who Ben Maller guy is? I'm very confused by that. But back to Hogan and this whole thing, what we just watched, or the first two episodes. What I'm really taking away from the majority of this is when you hear Hogan speak and you hear Linda speak, I was going, do their stories match up? Or was it edited for them to match up? Because Hogan, he tells stories, he tells tall,
and they're not talking to each other or with each other. They're not in the same room.
Real estate guy in real life. Got it. Understood, DSG. He's probably the top dog in your world, and I get it, man. That is a beautiful house. I would love to go live in a house like that. I wouldn't be able to know how to do it. How do you live in a house? Like I was watching it, I was like, how do you even live? Just to be annoyed, because you have to have maids. I don't know what they're called these days in the PC world, but people that clean your house. I wouldn't want that in my life all day. Like I just want to be by myself. But anyway, besides the fact, Hogan, I want to get to kind of, because episode 1 was good. It really was. I'm not discounting it all, but episode 2 really was the much better show so far. The most better 100%. Episode so far.
100%.
Because didn't they get into the Sheik and how they jump? I miss wrestling when wrestlers had the ability to not go into the business for themselves, but to read the crowd and to make a decision.
Yep.
That's if it was true or not. I don't know if he made the call. Sheik's dead. We don't know if this was a real life thing. Oh, Sheik, no, I don't know if that was documented or if that's been, I have never heard this before. So it's the fact that they were able to get attacked. Sheik was getting attacking by Hogan, and then they just went with it. Shows you how wrestling was and how it is today. Like, people say, "Oh, I show speed look good. Oh, this person Paige looked good in her return." Yeah, because they rehearsed it for for 2 months. Like they've had so much time to rehearse this. They say the professionals say, "Well, Logan Paul looks good on PLEs because they practice it, but on Raw, he looks terrible because he doesn't have that much time to practice." Hogan and Sheik and all those guys back then, they didn't need it. They just went on gut and instinct, and that's what we're missing these days. And watching those old films that we saw with Hogan and Sheik and the whole buildup, it was simple. Good versus evil. Hogan said it a million times. Good versus evil. Good versus evil. That sells. It sold. And I love the fact that they got into, I'm babbling, but I really liked episode 2 much better than episode 1. Love how we saw the transition from the families, or from the cigar smokers, as he called them, to the families in the front row at wrestling shows. How he really took responsibility to go, you know what, brother? I mean, I'm going to cry if we talk about his brother. I didn't know that about his brother. The whole overdosing situation.
That was, first off, well, that's Horace Hogan's dad, right? Remember Horace Hogan back in WCW, but that story about his brother, I never really knew that story. I remember hearing that his brother had died, but not in that fashion, not in that way. First off, a spitting image of Hulk Hogan, just with dark hair and a biker, a big biker guy. But a spitting image, and like I could feel, like, legitimately, like you were saying, you get choked up. I felt for Hulk Hogan at that point, Terry Bollea, when he's talking about his brother, and they're like, hey, they start asking him, did you talk to your parents about him? And he's like, hey, we got to stop. We can't. We can't. Even at Hogan's about to pass away not too long after this, and all these years later, and he still couldn't get to that point to talk about it. Like, that's the impact that had. Yeah, man, that was crazy to hear about Hogan's brother, and how he tried to, he told his brother, he's like, come with me. And he's like, no, I want to stay. I got things, I got to pay for my apartment. Just give me Hogan. All right, here's the money. And then Hogan lives with that regret that he didn't bring his brother with him or force his brother to come, because he could have gave his brother a job. He said, hey, be my bodyguard, or be my guy. Just chill with me. Hogan was having a rock star lifestyle at that point. I mean, but this, and I don't know if I heard this right, but after his brother died of the overdose, that's when Hogan said, okay, I can't. I'm done. I'm cleaning myself out. He stopped with everything he was doing, because he was partying at that point. He's doing cocaine, having a party life with Linda, with all the wrestlers. And we saw some film of that. You can see Jake Roberts chilling in the apartment. Again, awesome footage to see, just because it's, the guys that you watched, to see in this different light. But, that changed him. And that's when he's like, I'm going to take this role seriously. Because at that point, he was already in Hulkamania. WrestleMania 1 was a success. WrestleMania 2 was bigger, and then WrestleMania 3 being what it was. So, what you talked about before with Jake Roberts, calling Hogan the Golden Goose. Them talking about, hey, they finally admitted out loud that either you wanted to be in the match with Hogan. Everybody looked in the call sheet. You could hate Hogan all you want, but you versus Hogan, like, I'm good. We're good. Or at least let me be on the card. Oh, I'm at match 1. Okay, cool. So that was really neat to see. But I'm sorry, you were talking about his brother.
No, it's just, you can relate to that. Anyone can relate. I have a brother in prison right now who called me to go, hey, do you want to go to the casino with me? No, I don't. I got to work the next day. Oh, I want to go. And he's a big drinker, drug addict. Sorry, brother. But I'm not. At the time, I did nothing. No, straight edge. I really was. I'm like, no, dude, I got to work the next morning. Well, he killed someone on the way home. So, and now he's still in prison to this day. And if I would have said, yeah, brother, or how about tomorrow or anything, I just said no.
Yeah.
I could have prevented that, because we went to the casino at least 2 times a week, and he would drink and I wouldn't, and I'd drive, and I feel regret. I should have went, but I didn't go. Anyway, that's beside, so I could relate to that. I think that's why
you were relating to Hogan at that moment. You knew. Like,
yeah. I mean, at least my brother didn't die, but he killed someone in the act. And then that's the worst part of the whole thing, is he killed someone in the act. And I could have prevented a life from, so I definitely, not that Hogan feels, I don't know why he feels guilty, because I don't want, again, I'm like Hogan, I don't want to get into it, but you do feel guilty about those things.
No, that's a great point. And I could, that's when, like, whether you love or hate the person, the character's different. Like, and it's just, that's how I see it. Hulk Hogan, the character, Hulk Hogan, the professional wrestler, to me, the greatest professional wrestler, the GOAT of all time. Okay. Wrestling wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. The person is a different story. You could love or hate the person. You could see the good and what he did for charities and whatever, or you could, whether you hate what he did that years ago on the tape, or hate his politics, whatever. That's your choice. That's your prerogative. But at that moment in time, hearing about his brother, you saw the human side of Terry Bollea. You saw the brother, as you could relate to, who has that kind of like, damn, is this on me that I do something? And as DSG says, he gave him the money he used to buy the drugs he OD'd on, so it's deep. That's effed up. That's a tough pill to swallow. And you would think, man, all the money in the world, all the success in the world, you think, oh, whatever. I can not worry about it. I have 1,000 friends. I got all the people. Still his brother. Like nobody tops your brother or your family. So that was like I felt that from the screen, and I'm like, fuck, So one of the things I want to bring up that talked about when we debate wrestling or talk wrestling, old school, new school, whatever. When Hogan talks about the match with Andre the Giant, and of course, 600 pounds, whatever. And I like they got the PWI wrestler writer or whatever in there. Hogan said 700 pounds. It always changes every time. But he's talking about that match.
Yep.
And Hogan's right. He goes, and he brought up, and it made me think of our conversation. He says, you have wrestlers nowadays, all the flippity floos and this. He goes, but I made the most memorable move is it is the most memorable move that everybody remembers. It's not the ladder, Jeff Hardy jumping off the ladder and doing a flip or anybody doing these kind of 360 splashes. Every time you look at wrestling history, it's Hogan lifting Andre the Giant, one of the most basic moves, lifting Andre because of the story it told before the match and during the match. And then when Hogan sells it, Hogan's trying to draw the crowd, trying to draw the energy like Goku from Super Saiyan, trying to get the Kaioken, whatever the hell it's called, the spirit bomb, and Goku's like, give me the power. Hogan's going like, come on. And the crowd's going nuts. And Hogan lifts and slams Andre. That moment in time, that one regular move that people do all the time, he did that to the Giant. And that's the thing you see forever. Every highlight reel of WWE, every wrestling reel of pro wrestling was when Hogan slammed Andre the Giant. And that's one thing that really stood out to me and made me, feel validated in regards of wrestling, not just about the moves. It's about the story, not just before the match, but what you tell during the match. And, Hogan was really good at that. When you talk about feeding off the crowd and how you see the double turn, what he did with Jesse the Body and him were intelligent enough to go, this is not working. We got to switch this up. Or maybe even the Sheik, in that moment going, we got to switch this up. So to me, again, another thing where I was like, I love that. Make sure I have my notes here.
Well, I can add something.
Go ahead.
A couple of things about this. Again, I'm all over the place. Storage unit. The storage unit. Imagine Storage Wars. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
Why is this stuff in a storage? Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Where is that? I need to know where that storage unit is. Like, it just seemed like he got a random.
I'm kissing my grandmother now. Not everybody. The grandma watching.
He's got a random storage unit, like in the smallest one possible, with all of his junk in it, which was super cool, by the way. I wish that we saw more of that. I wish we saw more stuff. What does he keep? What does he value? What does he hold? I saw a New Japan Pro Wrestling book in there. I saw a bunch of stuff. Like, I wish maybe there's more, because if you're just now tuning in, we're only recapping episodes 1 and 2. We have not seen 3 and 4 yet. At least I have not. I don't know if you have.
I have not. No,
but
no.
We plan on doing 3 and 4 on Saturday to wrap this sucker up. Then we'll be back to our regular WrestleMania, which thanks a lot for spoiling Slaughter for me, guys. Thanks a lot, Hogan. I already don't need to watch it.
Oh,
don't need to watch it. I know what happens.
Yeah. That's right. You saw it.
What a jerk. But yeah, that was
thanks, Hogan.
On the way out, brother. You got me one more time.
That's right.
No, but I like the whole storage unit aspect of it, because we look at it as, holy crap, that's Hogan boots, or holy crap. He just looks at it. I mean, yes, he looks at it a special way, but it's just in a storage unit somewhere in Tampa. Like, it's so odd that, to me, it's just so odd. It's just like us putting our, like, I don't know, our old storage couch in there. Like, that's what we do. He throws in millions and millions of dollars of Hulk Hogan merchandise in a storage unit at some, like, whatever, lock and safe or whatever they're calling it. It didn't even look like a luxury one. But either way, I loved it. What do you think about Nick being in this? So, full disclosure, I said, hey, buddy, one of my buddies, Dave. Hey, I know you like these, like, documentaries and stuff, and you used to like wrestling, and they have a Hogan one out. He's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, yeah. His it opens up with, like, this and that. And it's got him and his son working out. He goes, oh, that dirtbag's in it? Yeah. F that guy. I'm not going to watch it. Like, people hate Nick. I'm surprised I'm surprised he's in the show, but no Brooke yet.
Well, that's the thing. So I want to talk about the family, when, you see him talking about, because obviously
1 million.
unless you're living under a rock in the wrestling world and whatever, you know that Hogan and Brooke weren't talking at the end, and she got herself out of the will, and now she was, she's been talking about this series and how, she wasn't included, and she, they kind of, or felt like an erase. So even though they did talk about her, and Hogan talked about how now my life revolved around this little person, and again, that makes you, as a father, it pains me to know what happened at the end, because that's exactly true. People go, oh, when you have kids, you can't figure it out. No, your life gets harder. I can only speak for myself. It didn't get harder. It got easier. Things got more clear for me in regards of what I needed to do, and decisions. My decisions didn't revolve around me. It revolves around my children. Whatever I do is for my. So, and that's, I don't want to sidetrack, but so hearing Hogan talk like that about, like, I wasn't living for me anymore. My life revolved around this little person, and you see him as a dad, and thanks for the thong shots. Those were really great. I mean, my gosh, he wears some shorts. I mean, but still, like, the family life, and I get that. Like, I spending time with the kids and running and chasing and having fun, and like, he's, again, you saw the human side. What's messed up is what happens towards the end, and you don't see Brooke in this thing. She's not in this documentary. You see Nick Hogan. Now, Nick Hogan says, the one who stuck with me through and through. That was a flag for me, because, like, come on, dude, your daughter's gonna watch this, like, and now he doesn't know he's gonna die, but it's like, she watches this thing and she hears that, oh, the one who stuck with me through and through, and here comes Nick Hogan. Of course, Nick Hogan is doing his best to keep his father's legacy and everything, and going to these things, and doing these interviews, and he worked out with his dad, and I love that he was able to have, that he's close with his father. That's good. It's not a bad thing. Oh, he still, he took care of his son during the accident, which the accident was horrible. That young man that got in that accident years ago with Nick Hogan, that's terrible. But that is his father. His father's going to stand by his side. I get it. I can't shame Hogan for standing by his son. So now Nick, I don't know what Nick is behind closed doors, but I understand as a son doing what he's doing now. I just wish that, the Hogan children were on the right side.
Yeah, I agree. And to address, like, I hear a lot, people are criticizing the documentary not having too much information or leaving things out. The way I said it best, and this might be acceptable or not acceptable to some people. That's fine. How could you put 40 years of someone's life in 4 45-minute episodes? It's impossible, especially a guy like him who went through so much and had so much going on and had so much this and that. We're 2 episodes in. We haven't even touched NWO. And NWO is probably just as big as Hulkamania.
100%.
And we haven't even touched that yet. So it's going to be impossible to get every single little bit of piece of information in. How do you get these roles as Mr. Nan or whatever these movies are? Like, we didn't get into that. They showed bits and pieces. Like, you can't get into it all. Did they get into the Real American Freestyle? By the way, they just had a show here in Tampa like 2-3 weeks ago. The freestyling, that's still going on. Didn't know that was a thing still. But they're not going to get into all that stuff. They're going to get into the meat and potatoes. Like, when you order a pizza, meat lovers, you're just going to get the basics, right? You're not going to go all, I need this and that. Stick with the basics. That's what they did here. It's for the casual. You know who this is for, honestly? My wife, your wife. Like, we didn't learn, like, I think DSG said it earlier, like, you didn't learn much. I didn't learn much.
No, the only thing I would learn, there he goes, DSG right there. This is for the casual fan.
Yep.
I think the only thing I guess we learned even for me, who's a huge Hulk Hogan fan, is that just his personal life, like seeing him in the early days and at home, these home videos, that whether you love or hate Linda, which I think all the criticisms were fair. Like, again, Linda to me was the MVP, just because of she shot these home videos, Hogan training, Hogan at home, looking at his magazines with his parents, and and you hear Linda in the background, like, that was, to me, that's like, that was what I appreciated.
Yep.
I've heard these stories 100 times over, most of them, but it's still cool to see. The other thing that stood out, again, we talk about how, Hogan with the family life. He has his daughter. Great thing. It broke my heart seeing the daughter crying for her dad, as he's leaving. I remember that when I was younger, when my mom and my father had separated, my dad would drop us off and then would leave. And then, I'd chase him down the road. So I could feel that. I get that situation. So I understood that. And then, of course, Nick Hogan's born. And we find out because she wasn't taking her pill, and Hogan's like, oh well, cool. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, we know, brother.
And
Sorry.
yeah,
Not sorry.
But Nick Hogan's born, and Hogan starts to realize, like, damn, I'm not home enough. So he goes to McMahon and he tells McMahon, like, hey, can I make this kind of like a part-time gig? And McMahon, he says famously, McMahon opens his book. And I kind of visualize this. And you got to think about that. Think about it back then, not now. But think about, okay, Jake the Snake versus King Kong Bundy or whatever. Yeah. Dragons, the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Coco Beware. $1 Million Man versus Honky Tonk Man, whatever. Like, what's the main event? Okay. Main event, Greg the Hammer Valentine versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
No.
I'm just saying, that's probably the wrong main event. Probably got to throw another guys, couple guys.
At that time, it would be Tito Santana versus like Honky Tonk Man. Like it'd be, but, you're right, because we're in that. It's funny because we're in that era of WrestleMania. Like,
so would you go pay money? You just, think about if it was today's pricing. $100 is section 300. Would you pay money for that card if Hogan's not on it? Think about that era. Hogan was the show. That's why Hogan said, when McMahon said, well, how the hell am I supposed to book Phoenix or book New York or do this? And Hogan's kind of like, and I was like, we need to find another star. And of course that goes to the Warrior. And oh man.
By the way, can I say something about this Warrior thing? Like, sure, we know he failed. Sure, we know it wasn't good. But I remember just a couple episodes ago where I said, man, and Cody said it best. Cody Rhodes said it best. Like, what did I say, Bobby? Ultimate Warrior won that belt, but Hogan made it about him. And that's what I was pissed about, remember? And Cody said it himself.
He did bring up that point. He did bring up that point, yeah. But that's what Cody said. But Cody said, think about this. Even when you lose, nobody's looking at the winner. Everyone's watching the loser leave. That's how important Hogan was.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what he said. And I thought about you when he said it. But again, it's true, though. But what else was true, too, in that match when Hogan said 5 minutes in the match, and you saw Warrior's lips move when Hogan had the sleeper. You're like, take us, we got to go. Let's go home. Let's go home. Hogan's like, the fuck, we're not going home. And who said, I don't know if it was Jake the Snake, but he was like,
all of them.
But yeah, I know all of them had it. But somebody said, like, they must have been like, Hogan, who the people would say is not the greatest in-ring guy, I mean, he developed a lot more since Jerry Lawler had him or worked with him. But Hogan, wasn't, but he was like, man, working with a needle and something he said. But it's like, Warrior was horrible. And I mean, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. I mean, yeah, $1 Million Ted DiBiase, Jesse the Body, Jake the Snake, Bret Hart, all were shitting on, and so did Hogan on the Warrior. And then you see the Warrior and he's cutting a promo and he's like, they would say, who said it? Bret Hart. He said, Hogan, you just say, go, cut a promo. Hogan, 30-second promo, cut, we're good, we're out. Warrior, you had to go over and over. And you see me and Gene Okerlund going to go like that, you're like, damn, dude. And of course, then that's when they had to turn back around, and that's where you saw the spoiler alert. You see Warrior get beat by Slaughter, and you know what's coming. Warrior versus, and that's one thing too. And that kind of went to McMahon. But why Hogan was perfect for that era as well. And he saw what was going on in the world. So he went on Real American. But with the Sheik, the Iran conflict back then, and McMahon's like, we're putting Hogan against the Sheik. And that was crazy. And then, of course, what do they do again? Now it's the Iraq War. Okay, now we're going with Slaughter taking the Sheik's role. And we're going to go with Hogan back in the Hogan role. And basically the same thing. And, of course, it was successful. Not the greatest match. Still enjoyed it when I watched it. But the only person who can translate a Warrior promo is Finn Sammy. Yeah, probably. And shout out to Finn Sammy and the Finn's TV crew. They'll be on live in about 14 minutes for Finn's TV, their draft review. So go check them out. Yeah, nobody knew what the hell the Warriors are. He's like always coughing up a loogie. I'll just say one of the most memorable characters, though. Got to give the Warrior that. One of the most memorable characters. And that's what I took from this, Josh, was that wrestling now is just a bunch of guys and girls who are really good at what they do. And if they could command the audience, kind of like Roman Reigns or Rhea Ripley, and they could always control and keep that. CM Punk, great on the mic, great. But there's nobody really right now. John Cena just retired. Mm-hmm. He'd probably be the only one who is like a rock star like person, like one that's like who's gonna carry that on for a lifetime. Once they're done, they're done. That's what that wrestling era was like. Because Jake the Snake, what does he still do? He's still bringing out the snake, and people still go crazy for him. Ric Flair still dresses up in his thing. But if you go and look, let's look at
Taker.
He doesn't dress up.
Exactly. So
yeah.
I'm thinking about it. Like, you're so right. Like, Finn Balor is not going to be walking around like the demon Finn Balor at 70 years old, or Roman Reigns isn't going to be wearing the Ula Follow. No, he's not going to be seen. Man, you were so right. Like, nobody's going to live their gimmick the rest of their life because they use wrestling now as a platform for something else, or they just wrestle until they're done and that's it. Like, think about all the like think about AJ Styles. He's done.
Yeah,
he's not as big as Hogan, but like, just think about the top guys though. Just think about like CM Punk. When CM Punk was gone for 10 years, I mean, yeah, he was still CM Punk. We still refer to him as CM Punk, but are we going to refer to him as CM Punk like in the 60s and 70s when he's just off camera? And like, is he going to still? No, he's going to be going away like he did before. So you're right. No wrestler's going to live that gimmick.
But think about that. CM Punk's a great example, and I'm not disagreeing with him. I think fans that chase wrestlers at the airport or at the hotels, I think that's trashy. Let these guys are real people in real life. And I remember I saw a video one time of some guy going off on Hulk Hogan. Hogan was taking pictures, and finally Hogan wanted to go in the room. And the guy cussed out Hogan because he wouldn't take a picture. And Hogan's like, "The fuck you talking?" It was him and Flair. Like, these guys are like, but that's the difference. Hogan will stop and give you the time. He keeps that gimmick. Flair the same way. If you are polite and respectful, but Punk, once this is over, I don't see Punk stopping for pictures. I don't see him talking to you. He'll be back in his little cave and whatever, and rightfully so.
Yeah,
but
whatever he wants to do.
The wrestlers, that era of wrestlers now, the Hogans of the world, those guys, I think, appreciate the fans a lot more.
But think about it's also this too, because think about this. When you're done with wrestling, like, you had to earn your take. Like, Jim Cornette talks about this all the time. You had to earn your money. You had to be on the card. You had to get sell tickets. You had to promote a match. Where now everyone's on guaranteed contracts. They just did a thing on Cornette's podcast where, like, they did the average, because it's public information. They did the average of like every single, like, they put out like WWE spent X amount of millions of dollars on roster salary in 2023. And Cornette did the math. He's like, holy crap, these people are making like $2 million. Like, the average is like $2 million a year. This is ridiculous. Like, he was going crazy about it because these wrestlers today, they don't have to hustle. They don't have to work the conventions. They don't have to keep the gimmick going. Chris Jericho is one of these guys who's going to keep it going. You can tell he's a gimmick guy. He does the Jericho cruise. He'll do this and that. So he might be one of these guys that will, but they're very rare and he doesn't need it. But it's very rare that these guys, like, think about someone like Dirty Dom. He's making millions upon millions upon millions. He's fine. He could retire if he wanted to at 40 years old, and we'll never see him again. If he wanted to. 30 years old. I don't know how old he is now. I have no idea how old he is now. But the fact is, like, he's not going to have to live his gimmick because he's making the money now without selling tickets, without main eventing shows, without being the top draw. Even the mid-card guys get millions of dollars. Wild, man. It's wild.
Hogan said that. Hogan talked about it in one of these episodes. I don't know which one specifically, where he said, like, there was guys that were bringing $500,000, and when Hogan did this, you went from bringing $500,000 to your family, which is still great money, right, to almost $5 million to your family. and that's what Hogan, by what he'd done, kind of gave these guys. But DSG saying Hogan felt the pressure of being America's real life superhero.
Yeah.
For sure. And even until his dying day almost, I mean, gave, whether you love or hated him, and no matter what, like people, everybody, no, he still, I mean, the guy was on a freaking walking stick and stopping for pictures and whatever, because he knew. And he, again, like you said, he felt that pressure. But like, that's what I guess that's the biggest takeaway from this episode 1 and 2. And I guess as we get closer to, because we know the end, obviously, but as we get closer, like, he was wrestling, maybe Ric Flair's in that thing now, because Flair still carries that, wearing the robes and shit when he wants to. And he fighting with, wrestlers for whatever reason on Twitter. But still, wrestling's last living rock star. I mean, again, when I see Hogan, or you could say Flair or whatever, but I'm just thinking Hogan, in that era, Honky Tonk Man, Jake Snake, I know. But I see like Gene Simmons or Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy still puts the makeup on his eyes. God, rest his soul. But Ozzy put makeup on eyes and dresses up and whatever. And then when you see him at home, he's wearing a regular t-shirt and whatever. But as soon as he goes out, he's wearing the suit and hair is all straight and everything. That's the gimmick, brother. That's what man. He's carrying that persona. He's not coming out there with a hat so you can ignore him. No, he's dressing up so you know who he is. That's Ozzy in Auburn. When you saw Hogan didn't hide what he was. Hogan didn't change his clothing or run inside the elevator. He had his bandana, his glasses, his handlebar mustache. You knew who Hogan was. Ric Flair, style and profiling, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying. He lives that, brother. Honky Tonk Man. You see Honky Tonk not bigger than any of those guys, but Honky Tonk still carries the hair and the guitar and whatever the hell. Those guys live the gimmick. But you watch wrestlers now, watch them go into hotels. CM Punk ain't wearing his Rebel Without a Cause gear that he wears in the ring. You
mean Liv Morgan's not walking around with like basically as shortest shorts possible, like that? Like, you mean Rhea Ripley's not walking around with a bikini all day?
No.
You mean to tell me that Finn Balor's not dressed head to toe in demon clothes, demon paint, body paint all day?
Yeah, you see, he was a workhorse. But no, it's true. Like, think about it. If Rhea, first of all, I'm not taking anything away from any of those wrestlers.
I get you. I
understand. Like Rhea, let's say if she lived that gimmick, wouldn't she wear like that, like a spiked leather coat?
Yeah.
Like live the gimmick. That's a lot. These wrestlers nowadays, now it's like, you see like the wrestler, the old, like Nash is probably one of those guys where Nash is like, you go down, you go look at one of the wrestlers now, and it's all, soft. They're soft, man. And they, it's two different eras. So like when I see Hogan like that, and you didn't even think Flair now, but watching Hogan, I'm like, damn, man, he was a freaking rock star. And it wasn't, he lived long enough to become a villain, obviously, Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Lou and Ashley, 305 Sports Babe at the Slow Flow Sports Show. Go check them out on YouTube. They have up there at Hogan's shop in Tennessee. It was really nice. Yeah, he was supposed to be there for the grand opening, ended up passing away, so they didn't get to obviously see that.
I remember
Nash is bitter. A lot of them are. He is.
I remember. I'll say this: the last time Hogan, I had an opportunity to see Hogan or talk to him. Total Wine, he was selling his Real American beer on Causeway, literally like 7 minutes from my house. El Ginger Americano texted me, "Hey man, Hogan's at Total Wine giving out his beer. You can go meet him if you want." And I said, "Sorry, brother, I gotta take more important to me, and I regret not going. Seriously, I regret."
Hogan, and I say this.
I'm not a Hogan fan, by the way, everyone. Just let everyone know.
Yes, but I am. You know this, right? We talk about this all the time. It's crazy. I've been to so many wrestling shows. I saw Ric Flair's quote unquote last match against Shawn Michaels. I've seen The Undertaker. I've seen Kurt Angle. I've seen TNA. I've been to WWE, WCW. Been all there. I don't ever remember seeing Hulk Hogan live. And he was my favorite of all time. So that was always crazy to see. But obviously now we go into episode 3, which we'll get into next week with episode 4. Episode 3 is, I think, Hollywood Hogan. That's what it's called, right? It's called Hollywood Hogan, I think. So we're going to get into the fallout between Hogan and McMahon. We're going to see the getting into WCW, the rise of the NWO. Really interested to see that. What are you most looking forward to in the next two episodes?
I'm just looking forward to more like, is he going to change? Does Linda have any kind of video? I'm sure she does. Home video of him changing into the Hogan, like Hollywood Hogan bad guy with the black, beard. I'm just curious to see how he is in his WCW days outside of wrestling and home videos. I'm also excited to see. Hopefully, I don't know. I haven't looked. I'm not the kind of person that looks ahead of things. Like, so people go. So when I'm watching the whole. Humor me. I'm watching Pokemon from episode 1 till it's ending with my son. And we're like on season 4, and he likes to go ahead. Oh, and in 4 episodes from now, we get to see this and that. I'm the kind of guy where I don't want to know. I want to go and blank every episode of everything. So I don't know what's going on next. You said, "Oh, it's Hollywood Hogan next." I don't know. I didn't look.
Well, I just know the title. I didn't watch it.
I didn't look at the title either or the description, because you know what happens on Netflix.
I'm going to spoil it for you now.
Okay.
Episode 4, he dies. Just letting you know.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Hope I didn't.
Well, what I mean is, I want to see. I'm getting into this.
That is awesome, man. That is cool.
That is cool. That is cool. I do want to say this. I'm interested to see if they add more talking heads. I want to see who else is. Are we going to see Eric Bischoff? Are we going to see? And I don't know. You might know. You might have looked at the cast already. I did not. So I'm looking forward to see who's going to be entering the WCW talking points. Are we going to see Goldberg? Are we going to see Bischoff? Are we going to see some guys that we wouldn't even think about seeing? Are we going to see Billy Kidman? I don't know. Because he worked with Billy Kidman. I'm curious who we're going to see. And if it's the same old people, I'm going to be kind of disappointed.
I'm with you. I hope it's people like you said, Eric Bischoff. And I don't mind hearing from any of those guys. Eric Bischoff is a great storyteller. We see Bruce Pritchard, right? He popped in here a couple times, so we know he.
I wish we didn't.
But I like that Natty was included in this one. I like to hear from people that I don't hear from often. Like, I know Rey Mysterio and Hogan were close, so I like to hear from the Mysterio, from the Mysterios. Like, I would like to see some new people, like hearing from Natalia, Natty Neidhart. They're saying, "Oh, my dad was the same. My dad wasn't as big as Hogan, but he was gone 300 days a year." I saw my father more on TV than I did in real life. And then she was talking about, we'd go to these parties and Hogan was larger than life. He was the life of the party. And so that's something I really would like to see in the next 2 episodes. I want to hear more from Jesse DeBody. I hope we hear about kind of their fallout and kind of there, because I like that they got him involved. And I like that it's not consistently shitting on Hogan. We know that's going to come, right? But it's like, you give the man his due, but I want to hear the real life. I want to hear the real shit. I want to hear the real stories. I know the Bret Hart stuff is coming because Bret Hart has to bring it up. You don't have to tell me Bret Hart's going to say something, because I already know Bret Hart. He will always find a way to throw in there, Hogan's a piece of shit. Hogan took the title from me, and talk about bitter. I mean, my God. But we'll get there when we get there. Okay, what you're looking forward to now? We kind of talked about it, but we'll hash it and then we'll close this out. These 2 episodes, what did you take away from it? What did you take away from these last 2 episodes?
Yeah, just good filmmaking, good storytelling. I like the people. I'm surprised with Jesse in there and a couple other people. Fluff, but I will say this, and that's fine. It's a fluff piece for casual fans. It's for people like my wife. It's for people like your wife. People like everyone's, like, people that don't know wrestling or don't know the impact of Hulkamania. I think they'll get the most out of this. People like us, people like in the chat who are watching live. If you're watching live right now, most of you all have all seen all 4 episodes, but Bobby spent 58 straight hours covering the Miami Dolphins draft, and I have just been waiting on him. And I'm a kind of guy where if I watch an episode now, I'll kind of forget it, so I need to watch it fresh. So that's why I'm waiting until like Friday to watch the last 2 episodes. But that's my last takeaway is fluff piece so far. Fluff piece, like there's no negativity. It's all like ego Hogan, which that's fine, man. His kids are watching, his family's watching. That's fine. And yeah, it's so good, man. Like, it's good. I recommend this to anybody. I think anybody ages, 14 up would enjoy this. Even younger, probably. They shouldn't watch it though.
They shouldn't watch it. Linda,
they would like it.
effing Giants and Hogan and we don't. But no, and again, what I took away, is again the rock star thing. Lots of the living rock stars in wrestling, professional wrestling, and I already know what my opinion of Hogan is in regards of his stature in professional wrestling, being the greatest professional wrestler in regards of everything. But I think you kind of see that impact and where he was in Minnesota and how he went to, like, I felt validated. So it kind of like, it was like, oh, and you say fluff piece, which I think is fair. But I think I get it too, because, Jesse the Body's talking about what he experienced with Hogan before he hated Hogan. Like, this is what he was. This is what everybody wanted to be on the card with him. Everybody wanted to work with him. Bret Hart, the same thing. Hogan was 10 out of 10. Just give him a promo and he'll do it. He was great on a promo. But it was like, okay, so let's talk about WrestleMania 9 or whatever the hell it was. And Hogan's a piece of shit. Hogan's an asshole. But I wanted to do we all know, I wanted to do a union and Hogan told on me. He snitched. It's all coming. But I understood that. But what stood to me was like seeing it was the rock star. And then the end of the rock star. And then how big he was actually to the profession. And I'm with you.
Never gonna die.
No, Hulkamania truly will never die. And again, but I'll say what I'm looking forward to. Like I said, I want to, like you, obviously I want to see the stories, but I want to see from other guys. I want to hear from other wrestlers. Whether you like them or dislike them, I want to hear from other guys just to see. So, but off you go.
It's been a fun episode. Tuesday nights, I don't do night shows at all, so this is rare for them. I'm usually in bed, but you guys think I'm joking, brother. I'm usually in bed right now, scrolling through my Pokemon Go account, deleting the Pokemon I caught throughout the day. That's what I do around 8 o'clock. I have a routine. But I had a great time with you, Bobby. And if you had a great time with me, tomorrow, live, baby, at 12 p.m. Eastern, me and Justin, we'll be talking fantasy football. We're back. We're doing last week we're on Thursday, but that's because of Justin. But we're back every Wednesday at noon. We'll have a great topic. We'll probably talk about these rookies and where they landed, fantasy football impact. The Miami Dolphins, I don't think they drafted. I don't know. I didn't care what they did. To be honest, Bobby, worst draft in the history of the world. Like, as in, I don't care. Don't care. But we'll talk about the guys Love and Tate and all these other mildly bench warmers in the near future. So, Bobby, where can we find you, buddy?
Oh, right here on FTSN, and every other show. I'll be back on live. Well, for Dolphins Thursday night with Finn Sammy. We're going to be rating the Miami Dolphins draft. Well, I think we may have a guest, may not, don't matter. We'll talk about the draft, grading it, and I'll tell you, I'm actually very happy with the draft because I got my Chris Bell. I'm excited about Chris Bell, and Kyle Lewis and Jacob Rodriguez, bench warmers. But either way, Josh Wingate, coach, and myself have already begun work on 2027. I started already building out my board in that Wade City, and so already started filling out some grades there as I'm watching and doing notes. Because, man, we had a blast covering this draft and love the way everything turned out with the draft. Of course, afterwards you kind of go like, damn it, we could have done this, we could have done that. So we're already working on what we could do better, plus all of this. So, if you love wrestling, if you love, the show, for instance, or even hate what we're talking about, still subscribe and tell us how much we piss you off. We don't care, but fantasy football, Dolphins, Heat, Marlins, baseball, all of the above. Like and subscribe to the Fitz Talk Sports Network. We have a lot of great content here. So, no, I'm not. No, not yet.
I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know anyone the Dolphins took because I just literally did not care this weekend about football at all. Sorry, I know it's a football channel. I know they drafted some guy named Proctor, but my biggest takeaway of the draft, just want to say, why Simpson? Alabama quarterbacks don't last. Sorry, for fantasy football purposes.
Oh, I get it. You go right ahead.
And you know what? You know what? I like where Jordan is. That his name, Jordan Love? Who's this? Jeremiah Love? Running back Love. Kid. Love the spot. Love the spot. We dodged. I was Neo out there dodging bullets. Don't go to New York. Don't go to Tennessee. He went to Arizona. Perfect spot. I know that's what fantasy football analysis for the day, but that's a teaser, bro. That's what they call a teaser, brother. We just give you a little bit. and then come watch tomorrow. So my name's Josh Campbell. That's Bobby Melendez. This has been the Hulk Hogan Real American Series Part 1 and 2. We'll come back Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern to wrap up episodes 3 and 4. Then after that, we're back to WrestleMania recaps because that's what I miss it, Bobby. I miss the old time wrestling. So we'll be back to WrestleMania 7, I think. So we'll see you then, Bobby. I'm gonna hit the in stream button this time so I don't forget. But everyone watching, Lou, DSG, Maria, of course, as always, Bobby's grandma, everyone in the chat. If I missed you, Fernando, everybody, Adrian. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys Saturday. Peace out, guys.